Hello, this is David Burton with the Greene County MU Extension Office with a leadership moment. This story comes to us from the frozen tundra of the Antarctica. And today it's pretty warm here in the Ozarks, so it seemed fitting that we would consider some of the leadership lessons that we can learn from Ernest Schakelton and the crew of the Endurance. Shackleton was an Irish explorer. He set out in September of 1914 on a trans-Antarctica expedition. The goal or the intention was to be the first man to traverse the Antarctica continent. So this crew set out in a ship called the Endurance, and it got stuck in the ice and sank. When that happened, the crew began an unscheduled 18-month survival test. Shackleton did not complete the transcontinental journey, but he did bring back all 27 of his crewmen alive in 1916. It was a feat of magnificent leadership. At the time, he was referred to as the greatest leader on earth. There are several lessons that we can learn from Shackleton and from any of the books that detail this journey, this magnificent experience through the Antarctica. And I think it's also important to note that the crew of the Endurance gave Shackleton the sole credit for saving their lives. He made the decisions, he led the group and got them organized, and in the end, they were more than willing to give him the credit for saving their lives. And I think when we read this book, The Endurance, we pick up on some really interesting strategies of Shackleton. For one, surround yourself with cheerful, optimistic people. His method for finding his 27 crew members was unusual, and he focused much more on chemistry and how he got along with them, and he was looking for optimistic, cheerful people. In the end, that proved to be a very important characteristic for their survival. Picking your number two leader, the person that is right there with you all the time, being sure you pick someone who is loyal but not a yes man. We see that in Shackleton's choice, and that proved also to be very instrumental toward their success. Hire people who share the same vision. He didn't sugarcoat what the journey was. He told everybody that certain death lay ahead, but he hired people who still had the same excitement for this trip, for this being able to go across the Antarctica by land. They shared a vision. That ended up being crucial to survival. Maintain an upbeat, positive environment, even in the worst situations. Having gone through this pandemic, or maybe even still in the midst of that, people have been stretched, people have been challenged by the uncertainty, but there are many people throughout history that have faced uncertainty and come out stronger. For Shackleton, part of that was maintaining an upbeat, positive environment, even in the worst of situations. That ended up leading to their survival eventually. And be willing to change your team goals when you encounter serious trouble. Shackleton's original goal was to traverse the Antarctica, the continent, by land. When their ship sank and lost supplies, and he noticed that they found that trip was no longer possible, he shifted, and the team goal became survival and getting back home alive. Not just a few of them, but his goal was always to get all of his men back home alive. So be willing to change goals when situations change and you have to. Now, I've been talking to several people over the last several months about this book and about Shackleton. And I've said, even among these lessons we can learn, there's really three characteristics of Shackleton that I think are important to today's leaders in uncertain times. One, Shackleton demonstrated resiliency. That means the courage to take on challenges and the ability to bounce back from difficulties. The pattern of their experience was sort of hope, progress, crushing setback. Hope, progress, crushing setback. This was Shackleton's existence, his reality for 18 months. And he would always shake off the gloom and move forward. Resiliency. What a great lesson for us. 2, Shackleton maintained a tremendous care or concern about the well-being of his crew. He understood that idleness leads to depression, and so he kept his men active. They played games on the ice. They had vigorous exercises. He did things to engage their mind, keep them busy with chores, so that they were not idle, and so the depression did not set in. So the well-being of his crew. And then thirdly, Shackleton always thought of the needs of his crew above his own. A leader who serves and loves his men, as Shackleton did, makes a sacrifice that is not just merely altruistic. For such actions have the effect of forging really profound loyalty. Even in the serving of meals, Shackleton went last. Shackleton made sure his crew had what they needed. He showed them love and compassion and cared for them. And ultimately, that helped lead to a strong team that was able to accomplish much and survive this harrowing 18-month journey in the freezing Antarctica. Yes, Ernest Schakelton is a person of history, since this trip took place in 1914, but we can still learn great lessons of leadership from men of the past. And in this case, lessons about what leaders need during circumstances of uncertainty. This is David Burton with Greene County Extension with a leadership moment.